J kids, J kids, J kids, J kids. Top of the morning, guys. Happy Monday to everybody, man. Appreciate you fellas tuning in. Got a new week. We discussed a lot last week. I just jumped back on board, talking a lot about the NCAA, well, not NCAA, I'm tripping. The EA Sports title, college football coming out. Man, we're less than 3 weeks away. We're actually about 2.5 weeks from release. And I think, man, we covered a lot last week, talking about some of our Dynasty predictions, our coaching philosophy, cultivating a program. And man, listen, we got some big news dropping tomorrow with Dynasty. It's going to be the Dynasty Deep Dive tomorrow. Super excited about it. Super excited to see what they're going to unveil for us, man. I mean, we've been waiting at least, I know, for 3 weeks or so since we got the first deep dive. It might have been a month already. So super excited about that. Let me know, man. I got a poll up at the top just to get us going, man, about our recruiting strategy. Got a lot to cover, a lot to talk about, a lot of things that I think we're all excited about discussing, because that's the main stage of why we build dynasties, is bringing in these new players. And really going to go under the hood pretty deep today on this, because this is something that I know I'm going to be spending majority of my time doing. All right. So yes, sir, man. Come on in. I know we got some guys that are just getting the notification in the Discord. So I want to make sure I'm not moving too quickly. A lot of times you guys miss half the discussion because you come in later, but yeah, man. So the poll at the top I got so far, man, is how will you recruit? Right? So, you know, the three, I could have put more options up there, but I just wanted to limit it to 3. So we got pipelines, of course. We got 2 and 3 star players and 4 and 5 star players. So I think it all depends on who you choose, of course. What team will be able to have the caliber to recruit 4 and 5 star players is a big thing. But again, it's about who you choose to play with. So yeah, man, we're going to definitely get this thing going. Let's see. Make sure I get my notes up. All right, man. So a couple different things, man, I wanted to talk about when it comes to like how we get into this bag of like recruiting, man. And like the video as well, man. Subscribe to the channel. Appreciate everybody that's joined. Just want to make sure I reset the room. I see some new guys that just joined in and popped in. So yeah, man. So we want to talk about how we're gonna set this up, man. Recruiting is supposed to be a little bit more intricate, I believe, is what they're talking about, and how we'll be able to DM players. We'll have a lot more options on our hands to be able to get these guys. So what's going to be your strategy? You know, depending on who you're playing with, what conference you're playing in, your coaching scheme, the kind of personnel you want to build out. I mean, it's a very exciting topic to talk about, because at the end of the day, this is the essence of your squad. You know, this is the essence of like how you want to play, how you want to display your style of football. You know what I'm saying? And can that style of football get you a championship, get you the wins that are necessary for you to keep your job? You know what I mean? All right, so what's up, David? Good morning to you, brother. Appreciate you popping in, man. We're talking a little bit about how we're gonna do our recruiting in EA Sports College Football. So let's jump into this video I have for you guys, man. I got this video set aside. Minf, what's good, man? Good morning to you, my brother. Appreciate it, man. We gonna be talking that talk, because tomorrow we have the deep dive for Dynasty. So we're gonna go ahead and get this discussion out the way, and then probably revisit it once we have that deep dive information to actually go over and review, okay? So I got this video queued up, and just a real quick background on it. It's one of my favorite videos. Me and my younger brother used to love to watch, because it's Doc Holliday, who was the head coach at Marshall. Now, he was also an assistant coach at West Virginia. He played college football at West Virginia. He assistant coached at Florida with Urban Meyer during their championship run. He assistant coached at NC State, and he was also the head coach of Marshall, of course. So what he did was, like I was talking about in my first video, he was holding a press conference when he first got the job, and this is like 2010, and he was discussing his ideals on recruiting, how he was gonna hit the road, how he was gonna go out and change this program from the foundation of recruiting. Now, again, this is 14 years ago, so it's a little bit different in terms of maybe how they were going about accessing these players, right? But the principle is still the same. And I think Doc Holliday was one of the best recruiters in college football, which is why he worked with Urban Meyer, why he worked with Chuck Amato at NC State. You know what I'm saying? So let's cue this up, man. Again, let me go ahead and throw the topic up. Recruiting strategies in Dynasty. That's what we're talking about today. All right, guys? All right, man. So here's my man, Doc Holliday. I don't think he coaches there anymore. I think he's retired.
You know, we started this deal, I guess it was, December 17th, and we had about 4 of us in here, and the rest of them came a little bit later on. But our deal is, we sat down as staff, first thing we said is, guys, let's make sure we, number one, that as we go on the road, let's make sure we sign guys or we recruit guys that we know we can win this conference with. That was the ultimatum that I gave them and that they knew we had to do. And I thought going in, I know the first year we went to the University of Florida, I think we signed 12 guys. Where's Zach or Sean's not here right now. I think it was 12 we ended up with. That's all we could find. That being said, I think we've signed 23 in this class, and we feel every one of them we can win this conference with. You know, we're going to do a great job recruiting Ohio. That being said, we didn't have a whole lot of ties other than Mike Cassidy had a few ties in one part of Ohio, but that's going to be a big emphasis on us in the future. I think also New Jersey and New York's been is going to be a big emphasis for us in the future. However, that being said, you know, we didn't have any ties in there at this point. So the majority of our ties with Coach Peterson, Coach Legg, Jawan, myself, Mike. You know, we have a lot of ties in South Florida and the East Coast of Florida, and Sean Cronin, you got here, Sean, right? Sean had great ties when he was at the University of Florida with me up through Gainesville and that area. So we went where the players are. That being said, you know, we had great success down there. Now, I'm not sure that's what we want to do every year. I mean, I want to go into Ohio and sign players. I want to go into Kentucky and get a few. I think Georgia is an area that can be great to us. Tony and I rode around for 2 days in there. Now, the only thing about that, you're riding around in a car for about 4 hours trying to find kids. But that southern Georgia area could be a great area for us, I think. So, you know, we're going to sit down as a staff in the next couple of days and really talk about what areas we want to target. But that, you know, we tried to get into areas that we knew where the players were, that guys have familiarity with, and targeted those guys. And I think it's worked for us.
So, again, that's Doc Holliday, one of the premier coaches. He actually had a really good run at Marshall. I think he coached there maybe 12 years. 11, 12 years, and had a 13-1 season, a 10-3 season, I believe, and really turned that program around for where they were known to be, at least I know in the 70s and the 80s. So he said a few things in that video. I may run it back one more time, but there's a few key things in the video that stood out to me because he understood where he was. Now, he understood that he was at Marshall University and that the University of Marshall, and He understood that it was going to take winning the conference. He wanted to focus on what kind of guys he could recruit to win the conference with, right? I believe he said it at the beginning of the video. So I'll run that back real quick. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I just thought it was very interesting what he said. So here we go.
We started this deal, I guess it was December 17th, and we had about 4 of us in here, and the rest of them came a little bit later on. But our deal is we sat down as staff, first thing we said is, guys, let's make sure we, number one, that as we go on the road, let's make sure we sign guys or recruit guys that we know we can win this conference with.
There it is. That was the ultimatum. All right, so, I got to run a documentary up. So this is Texas A&M's All Access. So just to give us an inside look. But Doc Holliday, he mentioned a great point. Again, his recruiting strategy, when he got to Marshall, the ultimatum was, listen, we're in a smaller conference. It's still a big-time program, but it's a smaller conference. And so what we need to focus on is how we're going to build our program to actually win. What's our first winning goal? So it was winning the conference. And what kind of players do we need to win the conference with? And so if you think about that, if you're playing in the MAC, if you're playing in the, what's some other conferences, guys? I'm losing my thought. But one of the smaller conferences in college football, you don't need necessarily your 4-star players. You might be able to get a transfer who was a 4-star here and there. But I really think it really boils down to, focusing on the guys that can make a difference on the level that they play. Of course, you're going to be playing bigger teams. If you're running with Marshall and you end up playing Ohio State or West Virginia or someone whose caliber is a little bit higher than yours, I think it's important that, yes, you have players that can compete, but the best thing is, what is your winning goal? And I think that's the first thing that we could probably consider based on the teams that we pick. If you're picking a team in the SEC, it's a win right now situation. You don't really have a lot of time to spend rebuilding for 5 years unless you have some substantial success. And going 8-4 or going 7-5 in the SEC is actually, I won't say it's terrible. You're playing the best of the best week to week. And I think that's a thing that you're going to have to just recognize that this is the deal. You know what I'm saying? If you're playing, if you're in the Big 12, it's going to be the same deal. Now, Texas and Oklahoma has left, but you still have other contenders in that same conference. And so I think it's very important to understand where you're at, what you need to fulfill your winning goal. So setting a goal, you're picking a smaller school. If you're Kennesaw State, focus on winning the conference, right? And if you win the conference, if you win out in the conference and you may win a non-conference scheduled game, 1 or 2, you might wind up 11-1. You could be 10-2. You could be 12-0. And eventually that caliber could probably set you into the playoffs. Because now I think more so than just playing for a bowl game or the national championship or the natty is actually getting a playoff berth spot. That's probably the biggest goal coming from a smaller school. Once you win out in conference, what else is there to play for? The national championship or a playoff run, right? So what kind of guys do you need to get there? So then you got to think about, in this game, what kind of staff, right? We talked about that last time, the kind of staff you're going to have to help you get these guys, not only recruit them, but develop them and then execute. So I think that's why they have those 3 archetypes for coaches, which is recruiting, tactician, and motivator, right? So those 3 things are crucial to understanding, okay, now we got this personnel, what do we do with it? You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not going to play the personnel, if you're going to keep them on the bench, they're going to leave, and that's real. That's realistic. So the kind of staff definitely matters. Your team identity and personnel groups, right? So for me, a lot of times when we pick these teams, the first thing we do is we want to analyze the roster. You know what I'm saying? Understanding, let's identify who we have. Let's identify our strengths, our weaknesses. What's the most important group for our scheme? If you're passing now, every other play, your wide receiver quarterback position, and then you're going to need an O-line to block. If you run heavy, of course, you're going to need some big backs. You might need a little bit of lightning, a little bit of thunder. So it's all about how you want to execute. Are you a screen heavy team? Are you do you like to run reverses? Do you like to play the field east to west? So there's always a way to kind of mix up what you have based on the personnel that you end up bringing in. So shout out to you guys, man. Appreciate you joining in, man, so far. So far it's 100% on how you will recruit. So 2 and 3 star players. Okay. So that's what you guys are going for. It seems like a lot of us are by default not wanting to waste our times with the 4 and 5 stars that may lock us out in the beginning, right? So I can dig it, man. Unless they come to you, it's going to be probably really difficult to get those guys. I see 0% on pipelines. I'm more of like a pipeline person. You may have a 4-star or 2 in the pipeline, so I may focus on that first, personally. All right. So again, thinking about that, what's the most important group for your scheme? That's important. All right, on both sides, defense and offense, depending on who your schedule is. Your scheme fitting guys. Now we're talking about a person that fits the scheme. So let's say like an individual, like a quarterback, the kind of quarterback that you need. Do you need a dual threat? The option run first? Do you need a pocket passer? Of course, we've seen that in the game before. That's your 3, but I want to really see how much different they'll be able to execute based on their archetype as a quarterback. You know what I mean? So that's going to be really fun. Who are your scheme fitting guys that you're going to need week to week? All right. And then I already talked about position heavy groups. So let's talk about like your strategy in trying to find those guys that are like Swiss Army knives. A real key player, kind of like in the athlete category, your X factor, your big play man, your go-to, your unicorn, you know what I'm saying? The guys that we're really excited about discovering, because part of recruiting in this game isn't just about who's interested. It isn't just about what you need. It's also fun to go out and throw some bait out there on a guy that looks really, really exciting to have on your program. And so what are those kind of guys? For me, I mentioned this before, I think I really love a hybrid edge / outside linebacker. I really love nickel back guys or strong safeties that can bump down or blitz or press and play the flats well, play, you know what I mean? I love those guys who can play zone. I really love a slot guy who could hybrid as a running back. And so what are some of your guys, what are some of you guys' favorite exciting players that you want to have? Your whole team may not be full of them, but you may have 2 or 3. You may have 1 or 2 or 4 or 5. Who knows, depending on how you recruit. So that's going to be exciting. The key players that you need to really separate your team from other schools. So that's going to be exciting, man. So now let's talk about the strategy. Like I said, I'm a pipeline guy. What's your strategy in terms of using pipelines? So we already know that we have state pipelines, but we also have, which is new to EA Sports, is the city pipelines. So they mentioned Atlanta. So I will go on to predict that we'll have cities like Dallas, Miami, what else? What's another big city? LA, Phoenix, Charlotte. So you're gonna have these major cities that are, I would believe, hotbeds for recruiting, just like in real life, But what schools have these ties to these cities? Is it purely the schools that are in that city, or is it just local schools in state? That's something interesting to find out, and how we're going to actually build those things up. But for me, I think my strategy in picking a smaller school would be being resourceful for a smaller program. I think that's utilizing every single piece that is already given to me to have the edge. You know what I mean? Because that's going to be a luxury for us. The luxury for bigger schools is that they're going to be able to get whoever they want. You know what I'm saying? Anywhere. So they can use the pipelines, but don't necessarily have to. What's good, Lamont? So he says, I like the recruit that's going to work hard. and be a team player and put the team first. Always, man. You want a loyal player. In these times of the transfer portal, I agree with that, man. Having a loyal player, having a loyal team. But I think being a loyal coach to these guys and what you promise and giving them a chance makes all the difference. So if we're gonna have 85 guys on the team, 85 may not see the field, but could you rotate 45 guys in a game, on special teams, offense and defense. So that's gonna be interesting how these guys, how their composure stays up. So now here's another kicker, right? Think about this, guys. Competitive states, right? So we're talking about recruiting strategies, right? What we're gonna have to see in getting these good players. So competitive states, so you have schools like in North Carolina, you have 7 FBS schools. So you got Duke, Carolina, NC State, ECU, Wake Forest, App State, and Charlotte. All right, so if you're playing with Charlotte and you're trying to keep the in-state, you're trying to get this in-state, you're trying to put a fence around your state, that's going to be difficult in North Carolina because, number one, you're a smaller school. Now, if you're Carolina or NC State, you may have more of an edge to compete against the other 6 and getting those guys. Texas, forget about it, man. If you're playing with like Sam Houston, dude, you got Texas A&M, University of Texas, TCU, who else you got? Baylor, North Texas, UTA, Arlington. So it's like you got a ton of schools in there trying to get the same guys, but the pool of players may be much bigger in Texas. So, of course, you may have more to choose from. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, those 4 and 5 stars, forget about it. Pennsylvania has 3 schools, Pitt, Penn State, and Temple. So considering your state size, Nebraska, lone school, they're the only school in their state. You could put a border around your state and try to get the best talent locally. But remember that the best schools in this game will cherry pick. So I'm not worried about the 4 and 5 stars as much as I am getting the median talent that's the best out of it, because you're going to be competing with the best schools to get the best guys out of your state. You're going to be competing with the best schools. They're going to cherry pick anyway. You know what I'm saying? So if you have an opportunity or a shot to get them, then that's one thing. So, but yeah, cities is going to be interesting. Really excited to see how they're going to play a role in being a pipeline. You know what I'm saying? Now, and the next thing is I always think about this, like star syndrome, right? Just because he's a 2-star doesn't mean that he doesn't have high 3-star potential by the time he's a junior. And I think let's go to the poll, because that tells it all. 2 and 3 stars is 100%. So I'm in agreement with you guys. Like the 1 to 3-star guys, what you think? I think those are the ones we're focusing on because we feel like those are the ones that really want an opportunity to play and may want an opportunity to be developed. It isn't until we develop a program that the 4 and 5 stars see they begin to look at us as a real opportunity for them to be, an asset to where we are. So yeah, the 1 to 3 stars, man, that's what it's about for me, man. And I think let's talk about the transfer portal too, right? Because there are major values in having the transfer portal as a school that's rebuilding. You have a plug and play. If it's 3 things I could say, 3 values. You have plug and play, right? You can get a guy and put him right in. He can be effective. You have guys that are more developed, sophomores and juniors and seniors. And then you have experienced guys. So if you're talking about having a guy that's coming in, he may have the composure level that you need over your freshman or your sophomore. So Lamar, you said, I'm trying to have a deep team, in every position and recruiting everywhere. That's why I'm keeping the wear and tear on. A lot of people and friends I talk to say they will turn it off. I got to keep wear and tear on, man. That's realistic, man. You have to manage the health of players. I wonder will we have a system built in Dynasty that helps us to manage that wear and tear, such as training or, team trainer or rest during the week? Like, what are going to be some things that are going to help those players recover? Will our program be able to have a way to upgrade those facilities to have a better edge than other schools? Or, you know what I'm saying? I definitely can dig that, man. But the transfer portal is important. You know what I'm saying? We definitely need to make sure that we learn how to play the transfer portal, because we never had a game where we had to actually utilize it. We're always used to recruiting high school guys, okay? So here's a big point I want to make, and I don't really see this talked about enough, but we can't forget our upperclassmen. There's a thing that always happens year to year in college sports and when it comes to recruiting is, the staff falls in love with the new weapons and additions to the school, the possibilities. And a lot of players end up transferring because they lose that spark and that fire that the coach had for them when they came in. They now have it for someone else. And sometimes favoritism plays a role, man. That's a real thing too. So we have to understand that, like, if you got a junior, a redshirt junior or a senior that didn't see much action, and that true freshman is overall 74, and his redshirt junior is overall 77, give him the start. He may have way more composure, way more experience, and he's overall better. But that freshman, sometimes, man, you just want to give that freshman a shot. We'd be so excited to play that freshman and make it a narrative. You got to put the best players on the field, and that's how I look at it. 2 or 3 stars, Lamont. Yeah, 2 or 3 stars. That's the way to go, man. I think 4 stars will be. I think that'll be that. If there's 4,000 recruits, I think there'll be more 4 stars than we think, and we may have a shot at getting maybe 1 or 2, considering really where our grades are, team grades. Yeah, man. So, yeah, the Dynasty Deep Dive is dropping tomorrow. Definitely can't wait as well, man. So, but nurture the red shirt guys, man. The guys who've red shirted. Like, that's the point. Take time and find roles for guys who are sitting on the bench. Put them on. If you got a fast guy, but he's a fast cornerback, but he doesn't have the best coverage skills. You know what I'm saying? Put that corner on punt block. You know what I'm saying? See if he can get a big play on special team. See if he can force a fumble or something on a kickoff. So there are different ways we can utilize these guys. Marino, happy Monday, bro. Appreciate you joining in, man. Definitely can't wait. I definitely can't wait as well. You said Penn State? Oh man, yeah, you're gonna be ahead of the game running with Penn State first, man. That's dope. Yes, sir. What's up, VZ? My man in the building. He says, I always start with pipelines and I work my way from there. Yes, sir. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. I was just talking about that, man. I may go back and kind of touch on a few things I already spoke on. But the pipelines to me is having a utility. You got to utilize your resources. You know what I'm saying? And so in the video I showed earlier, if you guys missed it, I showed Coach Doc Holliday, who used to coach for Marshall. He was talking about when he got to Marshall, how they were a smaller school, and his focus was, we got to win the conference first. So I need to recruit guys that I know I can win this conference with. It wasn't about trying to win the Natty. It wasn't about, we didn't have the college football playoff. He didn't even talk about a bowl game. He said, I need to find and recruit guys that I know I can win this conference with. So if you're in the SEC, you got to have the best players, because that's national championship territory. If you're in the ACC, you're there, but you're right below it. If you're in the, I cannot remember any of these smaller conferences, man. But if you're in one of these smaller conferences, man, and you're playing Coastal Carolina and App State, you don't necessarily need the 5-star or really the 4-star. But I think it is about execution and development to help you get a playoff berth. You know what I'm saying? To help you get a bowl game. But number one, you got to win out your conference in football. You got to win that out. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing Fairdale Kings put out a dope vid on top 15 Dynasty squads, not rebuild specific, but a lot of fringe teams. Yeah, I think we all, like I told you, I don't want to run with Kennesaw State just because they too small for me. Like, that's cool. That's cool in theory. I think it's fun for some people, but, I like to start right above that, a little bit above that. Thank you, man. The AAC Sun Belt Conference USA. Thank you, man. So those conferences, what kind of players do you need for the G5 teams? What do you need for that? So here's another topic I wanted to discuss when it comes to like having a real strategy. Are you going to max out all 35 of your scholarships? Do you need 35 new players a year? Do you need 85 men on your roster each year? Yeah, you can. I believe that they said you can you can change the playoff format. Do you need 85 man rosters? I think it's a luxury more than a need. I think I could manage 75 players. If I ended up with 77 players at the end of the recruiting cycle, that's fine. You know what I mean? I think having the depth in each position will be able to still be manageable with 70-something players. But 85 is still like, man, if you on the road, man, and you rolling with these recruits and you just got it like that, you know what I'm saying? But I would like to try maxing out 85. I just wonder what that would be like in terms of managing composure, because they said that recruiting will be a real game within the game of managing your team. And that's what I've been hearing. Lamont says, my dynasty team will be my favorite team. My dynasty team will be my favorite team. Florida State. I'm gonna try App State too. Yeah, both teams, man. I mean, try both. I think, man, look, we done waited this long. Play with who you want to play with. We ain't got to start that small. Go try out a dynasty with Ohio State if you from Ohio. Like, just do it. You know what I mean? Just see. But I'm sure there will definitely be a big difference in the competition that you'll see out there, man. So what I was mentioning earlier, right? Just for you guys that missed it, I was talking a little bit about, keying in on your team identity. So like if you once you pick the team, of course, we're gonna look at all the rosters. We're gonna size up what we need, strengths and weaknesses. What's gonna be the most important group? So I want to ask you guys. I wish I could put it in a poll. I wish I could run a few polls at once, but yeah, I can't run a few. So for your scheme as a coach, number one, drop your scheme. Let me know, what kind of scheme do you feel like running on offense more so? You can put both, actually. What's going to be your offensive and defensive scheme? Are you option team, triple op? Are you flex bone? Are you a spread? Are you West Coast? Are you air raid? Are you 12 personnel? And on defense, what you running? 3-4, 4-3, 3-3-5, 5-2, 4-2-5. Throw your scheme up, and then also put beside that, what's the most important personnel group on both sides of the ball. So for me, I'll go ahead and say that I'm considering 3-4-D, if anything, 3-3-5. My secondary will be the most important group on my defense. And then on offense, I'm thinking about running just the traditional spread offense, maybe with a single back rotation under the center. I like to use motion. So my most important position group will most likely be, it'll be the quarterback, of course, but I'm looking more so towards playmakers at the slot position. So receivers. So slot guys is something that I'm really looking forward to having as far as my scheme goes. I want big physical receivers as well on the outside, but the slot guys for sure. That's my mode. Let's see. Boy, Visa said he's a Seminole too. Okay. Running with them on online Dynasty. Nice. Yeah, that'll be fun online for sure, bro. You need depth because it's a long season, especially playing to the Natty. You're right. We're playing more games now more than ever in college football. You're going to end up playing 15, 16 games by the time you get to the national championship, if you get there. See, Penn State, I only live an hour away from State College, Pennsylvania, so I know Penn State, but I have to been a lot of home games. Nice, man. How is the noise level, Marino, at Penn State? Let me know, man. I'm from North Carolina, so I've been to NC State games. In those games, you know, to hear the sound there, you know, Wake Forest game. You know, Wake Forest has a smaller stadium, so I've been to those games, and you know, it's not as loud, I'm sure, as Penn State, but yeah, let me know your scheme, guys. What you guys running? So again, man, that was the thing that I wanted to really hone in on. Is like, okay. So here's what I talked about that I think some of you guys missed. Shout out to everybody in the room as well. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, man. Appreciate you fellas. So what I talked about was the competition of recruiting in state, right? So let's go back to pipelines for a second, because I know my man VZ, he talked about how pipelines is important, and that's very important to me, utilizing all my tools. And so North Carolina, like I mentioned, has 7 schools, right? 7 in-state FBS football teams, all right? So if you're playing with, you know, if you're playing with East Carolina or Appalachian State, like Marino said he wanted to try App State, if you're trying to get your in-state guys, and that's one of your pipelines, which I would assume, you're going to be recruiting those guys against ECU, Carolina, NC State, Duke, UNC Charlotte. And so, did I miss anybody? Wake Forest. So you got 6 other schools. As Appalachian State, you got 6 other schools that might be trying to get your same that quarterback that you want, or whoever that you're trying to get, that defensive tackle that's local. And, you know, does your school measure up to the pedigree of what that player needs? I think that's the other thing. What are the player's needs? You know, does your school line up to him being able to play early? Does your school not have the facilities that Carolina has, but, you know, you're both proximity to home. So you're going to be having to play this kind of fog of war game, uncovering what he's really interested in. And if you have it, tailoring, like they say, you'll be able to tailor your official visits to appease to him, and then setting up a game that, and there are other advantages that we could play to win that. But the number one thing is you're going to be competing in state. You're playing with a school in tech. If you're playing with North Texas, man, you're going to be recruiting guys in state against University of Texas, Texas A&M, etc. But the thing is, yeah, they may be on his list, but Texas may not be recruiting him. So finding under the radar guys, you know, finding those gems in state is going to be really, really fun. But if you're playing with Nebraska, which I've heard some of you guys are going to be doing, you're the only school in your state. So nobody else is competing with you, and you should be putting a barbed wire fence around Nebraska, not letting anybody get those guys, you know. And the best schools are going to be cherry picking out of every state. So USC's coming to Florida to get some of the top guys. Florida's going to California. Florida's going to Texas. Florida's going to North Carolina and getting that 5-star recruit. That's the best quarterback in your state. And you're like, oh man, we got a 5-star QB. Well, look at his list. There's going to be every other school outside of the state trying to get him. So that's just some things to consider when picking a school, is understanding how many other schools you're going to be recruiting against and competing with to get those guys, right? So Lamont said, you're doing a 3-4 the spread offense. I like that. You pretty much doing what I'm looking to do, man. I think 3 down linemen. And why I said I needed a hybrid, Lamont, a hybrid outside linebacker / edge guy, is so that I can bump him down to play that 4-3 as a run stopper. I think the position group for linebackers for me, I'm looking for more so run stoppers, which is why I want a really good secondary to be able to, you know, stop the pass, be able to play man coverage, be able to play zone and communicate out there, you know, flying around. So Marino, you said it's good. Yeah, I know Beaver Stadium. You guys are getting an upgrade soon too. Penn State is getting a renovation on their stadium. I heard it's like $700 million or something crazy. That number might be in flux, but But you're supposed to have something pristine coming soon for Beaver Stadium, bro. So the poll at the top, man, how will you recruit? So we got pipelines, 2 and 3 star players, 4 and 5 stars. 44% of you guys say you're working with pipelines. 44% said you're going to work with 2 and 3 stars, and 11% of you guys said you're going to be doing 4 and 5 star players. So that's cool. So I can already tell some of the 4 and 5 star guys you're going to be running with some good schools. Be able to get those guys, but I'm definitely a pipeline individual. One more point I'm going to reiterate on, just in case you missed it, is not necessarily falling in love with your freshman too fast. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be the fun part for me. Now, I'm really going to be enjoying putting a true freshman out there to really see how bad he struggles, to really see the difference between starting him or a senior or a redshirt junior or even a redshirt sophomore. A person with more experience is going to matter. And I hope that it really does show the realism of how these environments affect a young person's, mental in these big stadiums. So you have, we can't fall in love with these freshmen too quick and forget our upperclassmen. So nurture those upperclassmen, put them on the field, let the experience kind of give you guys an edge. So Marino, I'm going to be getting the digital copy, man. I think, I'd love to get a hard copy, but I may get it later. Just to say I have it. But digital copy is definitely going to be my way for now, man. So, but yeah, man. So that's it, man. That's it pretty much, man. We've been talking, college ball for the last week already. I got one question before I go is, what's something that you guys expect tomorrow from the deep dive? What's something that you hope they uncover? What's something that you are looking forward to hearing more about? And what's something that you've been thinking that EA is going to reveal tomorrow? I'll go ahead and share mine. I think that tomorrow I'm looking forward to hearing more about the week to week managing of our team. What that's going to entail. Is it going to be dealing with wear and tear? Is it going to be dealing, in addition to that, composure? Is it going to be, will we have weekly practices where we get to have, some kind of scouting report on our opponent based on how we practice? I think that's something that I've always wanted to be in a game when it comes to college football, where we're able to not see the other teams. I mean, you'll be able to see the other teams' ratings most likely, but really what they run and what they execute and how successful they are at it. Having that scout team practice is going to be fun if we have that in the game. But I hope we have spring game. I hope we have some level of summer training, off-season training. And I would love to have a week-to-week manageability of the team. So, yeah, man. So replays and challenges, I hope it's in the game. Yeah, I hope we have some kind of, I think we'll have some kind of challenges too, some kind of criteria to meet as a coach with your contract, X amount of wins, X amount of, whatever it is. So I think those things will be in there for sure. We'll have the team records. We'll have the school records. It's all going to be there, I believe. So, yeah, man. So make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe to this channel, man. Like this video. Make sure tomorrow too, man, that you already have the notification bell for the deep dive. I'll be right back here again, man, in the morning. You know what I'm saying? David, you said you want to know just how close it is to real life. Yeah. Lamont said, I heard it's supposed to be 6 minutes long on Dynasty. So you're talking about the video? So Lamont says you heard that the video is supposed to be 6 minutes long. Yeah, that'll be solid. I think reading that deep dive, man, is going to be like, that's going to take most of my day out tomorrow. Marino says, I hope they have outside practice field. Facts. I think they'll have that. What I'm seeing EA Sports do is taking the best of everything that we've loved over the years, and they're packing it in there, bro. They're packing it all in this game. That's gonna be spicy, bro. That's gonna be great. That's gonna be awesome. Yeah, so those are the things that I'm looking forward to seeing. Okay, so 6 minutes long. Nice. That'll be great. Yeah. So again, going up to this poll, 50%, man. Y'all sticking with 2 and 3 star players. Okay. Yeah, man. 40% pipelines, 10% 4 and 5 stars. So we ain't really hung up on these 4 and 5 stars, man. I feel like we treat them like prima donnas. You know what I mean? So, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see, man. And I think going for a 4-star here and there, I think is worth it. I think you just never know. We may be surprised on how you can probably find that 4-star that's getting slept on. It might be a 4-star that's slept on out there. And then also considering who is his list? You know, who's his top 10 list? If it isn't guys that you feel like you can't compete or teams you can't compete with, you may want to leave them out. You know what I mean? So, but if his top team is, you know, Cincinnati, you might have a shot. You might have a shot at getting this guy. So we'll just have to see, man. So yeah, man. So tomorrow, make sure you tune in. I'll be here in the morning. You know, I go from 9:30, 9:45 to 10, 10:30, maybe 11. It might be a longer day because we'll have more information and more things to discuss about the game. But make sure, man, I hope you guys pre-ordered, man, and I hope you guys are having a good day and have a good week as well if you don't tune back in. Make sure you like the video before you go. Please subscribe to the channel, man. We're growing. I got about 30 new subscribes in the last week just from popping back in and talking about the game. Yeah, spring game is going to be necessary, though, Marino. It's necessary. Oh, before I go, I do got to talk about the spring game real quick. Because the spring game, what I'm hoping for the spring game is that we have early enrollees, right? So Jeremiah Smith, the #1 receiver for last year in the recruiting class of 2024, is at Ohio State. He's a beast. He played at Chaminade High School. Their quarterback went to NC State. But Jeremiah Smith, early enrolled, and he had they said he had an incredible spring. The first week he was already considered to start for the program. And they probably already told him that he would most likely start, but it was no doubt that he would be the starter after that first week of practice at Ohio State. He had a great spring, and he just looks poised to have an incredible freshman year. They're going to get him the ball. He's going to be one of the top receivers in college football as a freshman, I believe, going into this season. And so will we be able to have our early enrollees too? Can we be able to play with our new freshmen that, signed, before the fall season was over? Will we be able to see that? That's something I'm hoping that we have. It may not be every freshman, but just particular ones that are ready to go. Maybe those 4 and 5 stars do something like that, but we'll see, man. So deep dive tomorrow at 10:55 a.m. I will be here. Like I said, I'm going to start a little bit sooner than that, maybe right at 10:45. Just bring everybody in, get the hype going, and we're going to watch it together. We'll talk a little bit, and then I'm going to have to go and read, and then I'll come back again the next day, and we'll break it all down, all right? Appreciate you guys, man. Y'all have a good day, all right?